This is from Exodus 26. And this is God speaking. Moreover, you shall make the tabernacle with 10 curtains of fine twinned linen, and blue and purple and scarlet stuff. With cherubim skillfully worked shall you make them. The length of each curtain shall be 28 cubits, and the breadth of each curtain 4 cubits. All the curtains shall have one measure. 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another, and the other 5 curtains shall be coupled to one another. And you shall make loops of blue on the edge of the outmost curtain in the first set, and likewise you shall make loops on the edge of the outmost curtain of the second set. And this goes on and on for 2 chapters of this sort of immensely detailed description of what they're supposed to build. Now think about that. Put that in juxtaposition to the original sort of architectural project of what is human beings, what is our mission? Our mission is to build the cosmos as a temple for God. And how are we going to do it? With a full sort of spontaneous and free outpouring of our creative rationality. So now what? We don't know the natural law. We can't figure out what's right and wrong. We get the 10 Commandments. We obviously can't build a sort of temple that's appropriate to the Lord. You'll remember how when I was talking about architecture in the garden, the example, say, of whether we're going to paint the door blue or red, and that there's this real creative, rational freedom that man gets to exhibit in making such decisions and such choices. And now what's happening is that God's stepping in even to make those choices in the level of aesthetics, that Israel's not even capable of determining what's something beautiful that would be appropriately beautiful for the worship of God. Like they're going to make mistakes there. And so God is moving in even at that level. So the law that he's giving us is not merely, we're so tempted to separate these laws, right? We have the judicial precepts, which are like the civil code. Then we have the ceremonial precepts. Then we have this like instructions to build the temple. But in reality, this is all one move for God. God is giving us a human law that includes all aspects of our humanity, our horizontal, our vertical, and intrinsically that idea that we're temple builders, right? That's right there. In fact, in this first round of the divine law, the old law, there's more text about how to build this tabernacle than there is anything else. In fact, the fallenness of man here is so pronounced that the Lord even empowers certain workmen in order for their artistry to be divinely imbued, that they're not even working in their own creativity with their hands, but he's going to motivate or sort of inspire them with how to carve. So what God is doing here is coming to fallen man, right? Mankind is looking down at the ground. And God the way I like to imagine this is he inserts himself within our line of sight. Right? We're looking down, looking at idols, trying to find idols, wanting gods to protect us, wanting to build temples to worship them with. And he steps in and says, here's a temple to build. I'll be your God. Right? But it's not like the Egyptians. So you see what's going on here. It's like we need temples. That's what we've been doing in Egypt for 400 years. Here's a temple to build. We need gods to worship because we don't know what else to do here. I'll be your God. Right? So here's a temple that doesn't have an idol in it because the God is the true God. He doesn't forbid the building of temples. He could have, right? He would have been totally justified in sweeping the whole concept of these sort of false temples away, but he doesn't. He instead enters into Israel's fallenness and tries the goodness that's still there. Because remember, the impulse to build temples, the nations that are building temples, this isn't a totally depraved action. No such thing exists. That impulse to build the temple still was flowing out of that primordial commission, even if in a perverted state. And so when God comes, he takes the goodness that's still there and says, yeah, build a temple. Let's build one, right? But it's going to be to me. It's going to be to the truth. So the same sort of way, you need a law to live by. You need some sort of will that's going to direct you. That's the way you were in Egypt. That's the way the slave nations are. Okay, we'll give you a law code, but it's going to be just. It'll be true. It'll be based on the natural law and not on lies. So one of the things that we want to see here is the unity of all this. The judicial precepts and the ceremonial precepts and the architectural precepts are all different aspects of one law. God, I'd say, is giving Israel a starting point. It's sort of like how in the original creation, God gives Adam and Eve Eden, a garden. They don't start from total scratch, and then he says, There, subdue, have dominion. Rather, he gives them a sort of place to begin, right? Material for which they can begin, they can start their project. And this is what's going on here. It's just so much more material. Because of the fallenness of man, God has to start in a way more profound remedial place where he's directing so much more of their lives than had been the case with Adam and Eve.